Hello and welcome to Creative Sparkle. My name's Holly and today we're doing an art journal prompt list. So grab your art supplies and let's get crafting. Hello and thank you for joining me today. So as we're working in a recycled book, as you can see, I'm just popping a layer of white gesso over the top because the first prompt is not going to be prime and I don't want to see those pictures. So the first prompt is to create a paper mosaic to cover the base for your background. So I've got these two paper packs that I got from the pound shop and I've chosen a page from either book and I thought they fit well together, and I'm just going to cut them up into triangles. So these rectangles are cut in half and then cut the square in half to get the isosceles triangle. And then once I've finished cutting those out, I'll start to place them on the page. So I'm, as you can see, sticking them down just with a Pritt stick, but you can use whatever you have available to you and in whatever shape that you wish. So coming towards the end of sticking them all down, we'll move on to prompt number 2, which is to prime your page with a clear medium, so clear gesso, Mod Podge, etc., whatever you have available to you. And I'm using clear gesso and I'm just going to go over the page. And then once that's dry, we'll move on to prompt number 3, which is to paint circles over the background without using a paintbrush. So I've chosen these colours, which is Burnt Umber and Mushroom from Nuvo Paints, and I'm using a paintbrush to apply the paint just to the cap so I can use it to print the paint onto the page in a circle form. So I'm using those two different colours and just randomly doing them over the background. Obviously if that's not something that you prefer to do, then you can find a sponge or something else that you can add the paint with and get them circles drawn on with the paint. So once you're happy with these circles, we'll move on to prompt number 4, which is to draw, stamp or stencil lines onto the background with 1 or 2 colours. So I've chosen my marker pens and I have this colour chocolate, which is obviously a brown colour, and I'm using a ruler and the marker pen just to draw some lines around each of the shapes that I have. So randomly over the page I'll be drawing triangles around 1 or 2 shapes here and there, but if you prefer you could add some lines across your shapes, over your shapes, whatever you feel fits with your page better. I just wanted to go around the triangles because I thought it would add a bit more interest with those white lines in between being so blank. So once you're happy with your lines, we'll move on to prompt number 5, which is to adhere some tiny shapes onto the page. So I've chosen to stick with the shapes that I already have on the page, which are circles and triangles. So I cut them on my scan and cut and just going to add a little bit of shading to the shapes because I thought the colour of them was a bit blank. So I've taken the vintage photo distress ink and I'm just going to go around the edges with a blending tool just to add a little bit of shading and to bring those shapes out a little bit more. If you have small punches, you could use a punch to cut out some shapes, or you could cut out some shapes with scissors, whatever shapes that you feel is appropriate for your page. I chose circles and triangles just to stay in with the theme. And as you can see here, I'm just using some PVA or school glue, whatever you want to call it, to stick those down onto the page. So once we're finished with that, we'll move on to prompt number 6, which is to spray some colour onto the spread. So this is a quick and simple prompt. I have chosen tea dye stain colour in the distress ink sprays, and I'm literally just going to spray a few times over the page randomly, and once that's dry we'll move on to the next prompt. So prompt number 7 is to add a focal image that fits with your background. So I found this scrapbook paper, which is by 7 Gypsies, and I'm just going to cut out one of the images that you can see here and use that as my focal image. So I'll cut that out and then figure out where on the page I want it, and I'm just going to use some double-sided tape to get that stuck down onto the page. If you have something different, you could use a stamp or a picture from a magazine or a newspaper, whatever you have available to you. Don't feel as though you need to get scrapbook papers with the same thing on. Just whatever you have, use what you have in your stash. So once I have that stuck down where I want it, I'll move on to prompt number 8, which is to choose ephemera to surround your focal image. So the ephemera I've chosen is this idea-ology pack from Tim Holtz. And I'm just going to go through and select some pieces from this pack and just have them over the page. And then once I'm happy with which ones I want to use, as you can see here, I'm going to go in with the walnut stain distress ink, and again just go around the edges of those pieces because the background is very busy. So I want to make sure that they're standing out a little bit more, because they just tend to fade into the background because it is so busy. Obviously the ephemera that you choose doesn't have to be all from the same set. You can choose whatever you have available to you or whatever you think goes well with your page. So once we're done with that, we'll move on to prompt number 9, which is to add some journaling and or a title to your focal image. I have chosen to go with these Tim Holtz idea-ology stickers, and I'm just going to choose one of the stickers that reads cast of characters, and it's as simple as that. So for the final prompt, it's number 10, and it's add a border to your page and duplicate the design to frame your focal image. So I've chosen this lace that I have in my stash, and I'm just going to stick it down with some Mod Podge. So I'll just dot it here and there, as you can see, and I did use my straighteners to press out any creases or anything like that you could see on this. So I just wanted to make sure that we had it straight, and then I will pop it down and trim the edges, as you can see, and I will do the same thing with the focal image so that we've got a border around both the page and the focal image. So once that's all finished, that will be the end of the page. So I will put the full prompts list at the end of the video, and I will put images of the finished result at the end as well, so you can take a look at those. If you do decide that you want to take part in the prompt list, please do tag me on Instagram with the hashtag #SparklePrompts, and please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button so you can come along with the prompts next time as well. And I will see you next time, where we will turn your creative spark into creative sparkle. Thanks.